jerky, dried fruit, hardtack, and nuts. Wait, what actually is hardtack? Hard, dry bread or biscuit, especially as rations for sailors. Got it. So we're not going to eat rocks. We're going to make real hardtack, because these are the main foods that make up a day's ration according to the D&D 5e Player's Handbook. And I'm going to see what it's like to live on real D&D rations for the next few days. Because I'm Bob, this is where we learn how to have more fun playing D&D together. And you may recall that I already tried subsisting on 1 gallon of water and 1 pound of food. In that video, I took the 5e food and water minimum requirements to the letter, specifically taking my normal diet and just increasing the amount of water to a whole gallon and decreasing the amount of food to 1 pound for 3 days straight, because I assumed it would be challenging but fun to watch. Then at the end, we could all have a good laugh about that silly 1 pound of food rule. Ha ha ha. Instead, some folks on Reddit didn't watch the full video, and they assumed I had never heard of calories before and told me to eat something called pemmican. But you know what they say about assuming. So this time, I'm eating the true D&D 5e ration foods and counting calories, and I'm about ready for my first meal. But first, let me just grab this plate. Yeah. This plate. They create unique metal posters, including lots of D&D art, nature scenes, fantasy art, and more. Grace really wanted this cat one, and their magnetic wall mount system is super easy to use without drilling into your walls. Each plate is made in Europe and signed by Displate's Master of Production, and they partner with conservation organizations to plant a tree for every Displate sold. Besides D&D, they work with Elder Scrolls, Stranger Things, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and other awesome nerdy brands, offering over 1 million different designs. And this Black Friday, they're running the biggest sale they've ever had. If you order by November 30th, you save 35% for 1 or 2 designs, 39% for 3 or 4, and 44% for 5 or more designs. So check out Displate through the link below or use code BOB so they know who sent you. Alright, meal 1, we're keeping it very simple with 1 serving each of jerky, fruit, and nuts, because I haven't made the hardtack yet. That's 28 grams of naturally smoked beef jerky measuring 100 calories, 40 grams of dried dates at 110 calories, and 28 grams of unsalted mixed nuts coming in at 170 calories for a total of 96 grams, or only 0.21 pounds and 380 calories. Not bad at all. Now, look at the wording of this rule for food. A character needs 1 pound of food per day and can make food last longer by subsisting on half rations. Eating half a pound of food in a day counts as a half a day without food. Saying a character needs 1 pound, then that you can survive on half rations, then describing the effects of eating half a pound of food, all heavily implies that a ration is 1 pound. But if we flip to the equipment section, we see that a ration is not 1, but 2 whole pounds of food. And if I just ate 0.21 pounds, that means I could eat nearly 10 times that amount of food over the course of the day, which would be around 3,500 calories, while as a non-adventurer, I probably only need the modern standard daily value of around 2,000 calories. So funny enough, I'll most likely be good with about a pound of these dry foods. And so far, I do feel fine. But let's make some hardtack. I found this incredibly simple recipe on breaddad.com, which also tells us this hardtack recipe is very easy to make. As you probably know, hardtack is a survival bread and historic settler food with an extremely long shelf life. If properly stored, hardtack can last for years. Hardtack has been used for centuries and was a historic mainstay for pioneers, settlers, sailors, and soldiers when traveling on long journeys. Then there's this bold warning about remember to soak hardtack before eating. This says in water, milk, soup, stew, etc. for at least 5 to 10 minutes in order to soften the hardtack before eating, because hardtack is kind of hard. So just as Bread Dad says, we are preheating the oven to 375, mixing 2 cups of flour, 3/4 cups of water, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Optional, I'm doing less salt because I'm getting plenty of sodium already from the jerky, and I don't need to preserve this for very long. Then we're rolling down the dough to about 1/3 of an inch thick, cutting it into squares, poking holes all the way through so the squares don't puff up, baking for 30 minutes, flipping them over, baking for 30 more minutes, and letting our hardtack cool down. In the meantime, I'm preparing another serving of jerky, another serving of the dried fruit, and a triple serving of mixed nuts because it's like 3 p.m. and I'm pretty hungry now. But we gotta talk about this kind of ridiculous excuse for food. Listen to this. I don't even know if I can. Okay. It is biteable. I already measured out a serving of hardtack. Based on my flour, it's about 110 calories, and that's been soaking in water for like 40 minutes now, so should be pretty edible. Not much better. Soggy exterior and crunchy inside. Yeah, definitely a basic survival food, although super easy to make, and honestly I think it would be kind of fun to bring a batch of this to an in-person session of D&D, but maybe also bring something tastier than water to soak it in, because there's definitely a reason they don't call it Tasty Tack.
Nice one.
Actually, let me know in the comments, what would you pair with this world's probably most bland food? But this meal brings me to only about 0.61 pounds and 1,210 calories so far today. So for dinner, I think I'm just going to do another meal exactly like this one, but take out like a half a serving of the fruit, so I'll still be just under a pound and about 2,000 calories, and I'll let you know how I feel in the morning. Alright, it is day 2, and I'm a little embarrassed to say that I could not finish my dinner last night. Here's like 6 almonds that I just physically could not stomach. And I was raised with an always finish your plate mentality, so this was tough for me, but I just couldn't do it. I was not feeling good. Plus, if you remember from yesterday, I was only going for a half ration. 1 pound of food and about 2,000 calories. And I know I'm like a fairly thin guy, but if you saw my previous food video, you know that with 1 pound of food with my normal diet, that was not nearly enough. I was struggling on day 2 in that video, but today I skipped breakfast. So I had to figure out why I couldn't even finish that half ration, and I think I did. Here's a table of the foods I ate yesterday with their main nutrition facts pulled straight from the labels. For example, 1 serving of this jerky is 28 grams, 100 calories, and contains 3% of the daily recommended value for fat. 10% saturated fat, 8% cholesterol, 20% sodium, 2% carbs, 0 fiber, and 19% of the daily recommended value for protein. Then I took the number of servings of each food that I ate yesterday and got the totals. First of all, it was only 0.97 pounds of food, so technically a half ration and just under 2,000 calories as predicted. But check this out. I ate 149% of the recommended daily value for fat. Whoa, and where did that come from? 7 servings of mixed nuts. I really should have known better here, because the phrase, "I ate too many peanuts," is a meme in our household because of the stupid number of times I have eaten too many peanuts before dinner and then not felt hungry for dinner. And whoa, protein, 144% of the recommended daily value because of way too many nuts, and of course jerky is also high in protein. However, high fat, high protein, this is probably a great diet for adventurers on the road. Maybe more carbohydrates would be beneficial for them, but I need to balance this out for myself. So using this information, I have planned out my ration for the day. 2 servings of jerky, 4 of dry fruit, 4 of nuts, 3 of hardtack, and as a special addition, 1 serving of cheese, because while I'm also the last person on the planet to ever complain about a food's flavor or lack thereof, even I needed something else, anything else to go with this. So I asked Twitter what other foods would belong in an adventurer's ration, then put their top responses into a YouTube poll. 7,000 plus people voted, and cheese won, so I picked some up from the store this morning. Therefore, with this half ration, I'm still only at 0.98 pounds for the day, only about 1,800 calories, and 98% of the recommended daily value for fat. Much less than 149% yesterday, still a little high there, but I think this is going to be great. And the plan is just to graze on this ration, or half ration, over the course of the day, and then I will check in tomorrow morning. Alright, day 2 was a complete success. I actually felt kind of full around lunchtime, but by the end of the day, I found myself sneaking a few extra grams of jerky, so in total, I probably just hit or went a little bit over 1 pound of food, which was still only about a half ration. So today, rather than do the exact same thing, we're going to tweak those servings a little bit And we're going to supplement our half ration with some mock foraging, randomly determined with a wisdom survival check. Now, while I have calculated my genuine strength and con ability scores, I have not done this for wisdom, so let's take a quick look. Wisdom reflects how attuned you are to the world around you and represents perceptiveness and intuition. A wisdom check might reflect an effort to read body language, understand someone's feelings, notice things about the environment, or care for an injured person. Okay, frankly, I think I'm slightly better than the average commoner at those things, so I'm going to go with a 12 for that +1 modifier, and if you want to see me try to calculate my actual wisdom score in a future video, give this one a thumbs up. Then, the survival skill. The DM might ask you to make a wisdom survival check to follow tracks, hunt wild game, guide your group through frozen wastelands, identify signs that owlbears live nearby, predict the weather, or avoid quicksand and other natural hazards. Honestly, I have trained and used all of those skills in real life, but I still wouldn't say I'm proficient in the survival skill in the more brutal sense that an adventurer would have to be, so no proficiency bonus to this check. And unfortunately, the D&D foraging rules from the 5e Dungeon Master's Guide really don't apply here. On a successful check, I would roll 1d6 +1 for the pounds of food I would find, when really, I'm only trying to get my today's ration to about 2 pounds total. So what I'm going to do is roll this d20 +1 for my wisdom modifier, and the result will be the number of ounces of food, where 16 ounces equals 1 pound that I successfully forage among the less processed foods found in this environment, like a single egg at only 1.7 ounces or 50 grams, and probably the most processed of these foods. This egg would be the first food I'm able to successfully forage, and the only one if I get a natural one. Then a carrot or two pulled from Farmer Maggot's crops, and if I'm lucky, some mushrooms harvested from the forest floor. And if I'm very lucky, I get the one food here that I sort of technically foraged last week with Grace when we went apple picking. But yeah, this apple alone weighs roughly 7 ounces, so I'm gonna only bother with this on a high roll. Again, with 16 ounces in 1 pound, if I roll a 15 or higher, that would be more than enough food for the day in addition to my half ration, while rolling anything less than 5 means I'm pretty much relying on those dry ration food staples yet again, but here we go. It's a 16, so definitely more food than I need. That means I get pretty much anything. Maybe not the apple, maybe like half the apple. I'm gonna weigh all this out, cook up that egg and probably the carrots and mushrooms, and honestly try to turn this into a proper meal and like use a fork for the first time in a couple days. And then I'll check in with you later. Yeah, and there's probably going to be like a cut or two in there, so no one's going to believe I actually rolled a 16, but I totally did. It's real. Well, it's about the end of day 3, and I actually only had about 1,800 calories again, even though all the food weighed almost twice as much as yesterday. It was very nice having a greater variety of foods, because lack of variety and flavor, even as someone who doesn't normally care about that, was really the only inconvenient part of eating real D&D rations for 3 days after figuring out how to properly balance my fat intake. But while I mostly stuck to half rations, I think that a full 2-pound ration makes perfect sense for a traveling adventurer, and that these 5e rules would be perfect if the food requirement just specified a character needs 1 pound of dry food per day. And if you'd like to see me prove that eating 1 pound of any old food won't cut it, check out this video. And if you like this one, please do give it a like and share it with your game group. Maybe consider subscribing or joining my Patreon to get a bunch of awesome D&D 5e one-shots that I've produced with best-selling DMs Guild writers. Thank you for your support, and keep building. Woof.